Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. A quick info before we begin. Today's video has 2 stories and both of them have updates. Now let's get started with the first one. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user I Just Like Lunch 3. A coworker asked me on a date and now my husband thinks I should report to HR, which I think is weird. Help? I started a new job about a month ago. It's my dream job and I absolutely love it. Without saying too much, my job supports a number of different executive leaders for different productions within my company. I work in media. Since I've started, I've been asked to lunch by several executives as a means to get to know each other and to welcome me to the team. It's been great. Well, anyway, so there's a guy who we'll call Greg, who also started on the same day as me. He's nice and sits relatively close to me. Our paths rarely cross for work. We're never really in the same meetings or do projects together, but we engage in small talk when we bumped into each other in the halls. Now, the other day, he asked if I wanted to go to lunch with him. I said yes because 1, I was planning on going to get something anyway, and 2, I had gone out to lunch with a number of coworkers and it was fine. I also wear a wedding ring, and in the little new hire bio they sent out about each new employee, it included that I was married and had a 2-year-old. I also have pictures of my family up on my desk. Anyway, we go out to lunch and he asks about my weekend plans, and I say that my husband, daughter, and I are going to clean our backyard. That's when he gets a very confused look on his face. And he asks if we have an open marriage because he doesn't want to be that guy. I realized what's happened and proceeded to explain that I've been asked out to lunch by a number of folks at work and thought it was just lunch. Super cringeworthy, but he was a good sport about it. He thought my ring was just decorative and that I was a single mom. He said he didn't see the HR email that introduced me to the company and we ended up just laughing about it. He was super embarrassed and asked me not to tell anyone at work, which I agreed to. So anyway, when I got home, I told my husband and he thought it was weird that I didn't report it to HR. I told him that Greg didn't break any rules and that I didn't feel like I was harassed or anything. My husband is concerned that he might try to retaliate against me, I highly doubt it, and that it should be documented that I turned him down for a date. My husband also thinks that Greg went into it knowing I was married and just pretended that it didn't to save face when he realized I wasn't interested in him. He's not buying the decorative wedding ring thing, which I understand it is a weird excuse, but I have a number of single friends who wear rings on their left ring fingers, so maybe that's why I didn't think it was that weird. It's created this weird tension in my home. I told him that I understand that he feels disrespected, but I don't believe it was intentional. My husband thinks I'm being naive and passive. My husband is usually a very rational person, but I can't get him to drop this. We haven't really been fighting, but I can also tell he's not happy. For the record, he had no issue with me going out to lunch with other male coworkers and even encouraged it. It's just this specific one. Any advice for me? Well, OP, I'm kinda stuck in the middle here because I do understand your husband's point of view. I mean, yeah, it sucks that your wife gets hit on like this in a job. But I can also see it from your point of view because Greg didn't break any rules. He didn't harass you. He just invited you to lunch and you went with it and didn't know the real pretenses of Greg, and then when they came out, you guys just laughed about it. Sure, your husband could have a point, Greg could be full of crap, but the thing is, he hasn't broken any rules, so there's no point in going to HR. And if you do go to HR to report this, then you might label yourself as somebody who just generates trouble out of nothing. Now, just to be clear, with what I've just said, I'm not saying never go to HR to report unbecoming behavior. I'm just saying that in this case, since Greg didn't break any rules, going to HR might blow up in your face. So here's what I would do if I was in your shoes. I would talk to your husband and tell him that even though you can't do anything right now, if Greg so much as steps a little bit out of line, you go straight to HR and report it as a second incident. Because now Greg can't play dumb that he didn't know you were married or, you know, whatever, that the ring was decorative, right? So if he makes any double entendre joke or anything that crosses a little bit of the line, that's it. You go to HR and then your husband should be happy with that. Now, the good thing is that Greg did apologize, which means he knows he effed up, so maybe this'll keep him at bay. And what do you guys think about this situation? Can you see it from OP's perspective, or can you see it from the husband's perspective? Let me know in the comment section what you guys think, but now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Strong Within 76 says, report what exactly? A guy at your work asked you to lunch. You accepted. He thought you were single. He was embarrassed when you found out otherwise. And scene. I don't even know what grounds you would have to report anything. Pretty sure they would just tell you, next time he asks you to lunch, say no. Your husband seems kind of insecure. I'd bet if he rationally thought this through, he'd change his view. Abby Fick says, how long ago did this date happen? Just a few days, right? I agree that your husband is being weird, but I will take your word that he isn't normally like this. So I think it's fair to play along a little and give him some extra reassurance. Tell him that you will send an email to yourself on your company email to document what happened, but that you won't involve management or HR, just a personal memo, so the details are in writing on a server at work. Reiterate that you don't have bad vibes about this guy, but that you will be vigilant about his behavior toward you going forward. If he sets a toe out of line in the future, you will then take your email evidence and whatever new documentation to HR. This way, you are covering your ass just in case while still giving Greg the benefit of the doubt. It's definitely slightly ridiculous, but hopefully it will appease your husband. And on the off chance he is right to worry, you'll have laid some basic groundwork for filing a complaint. I imagine your husband is feeling a little insecure or left out of the excitement of your new job. You have this whole other part of your life that's separate from him, and he can't help feeling like it's a threat to your life with him on some level. Some weird combination of jealousy and protectiveness. It's not terribly rational, and you definitely should not make a habit of indulging him in matters of your autonomy as a working woman, but if this is as bad as it gets, just humor him a little. Hope this helps. And Beck01221 says, honestly, your husband is probably focused on the fact that this story doesn't match up, so he's thinking of all the bad things that could happen. It is really weird to know someone has 2 kids but assumes your wedding ring is just a decoration. Anyways, maybe plausible. Where'd he get 2 kids from? It's just the one. Talk to your husband about it, explain your thoughts, and agree that it is weird, but you don't want to complain to HR because it was only a lunch date. Say you will go to HR the minute he pushes for another date or insinuates that he's not happy with you rejecting him. They might not take you seriously if you are reporting a guy for just asking you out. But if he starts to harass you, then you need to report it. Additional information from OP's comments. Okay, for all of you out there calling me a potential cheater, know this. I have no romantic interest in this guy or any other person outside of my husband. I'm fine with cutting off contact with this guy at work. I don't want there to be any more misunderstandings or give him a reason to think I am interested in him romantically or sexually, and I wasn't trying to come off as defending him, I was just describing what I thought was happening based on how he said it. I guess when he asked if we were in an open marriage, based on his tone, the impression I got was that he was trying to justify why I agreed to go on a date with him. Not so much that he was trying to still pursue anything, but I also apparently didn't interpret the tone about the date thing very well, so maybe that could be confusing. Also, let me clarify. He requested I not tell anyone at work. He didn't necessarily say I couldn't tell anyone. Now, neither myself nor my husband think I did anything wrong. Alright, well, I think the community gave OP some pretty decent advice, all very close to the same point of there's nothing to report right now, but just be wary about the future. And that second commenter gave OP a really good idea about documenting this without actually raising any potential flags. So with all that, it's time to move on to the update to see what happened next and how the story ends, but of course before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's move on with that update. First, I just want to say thanks to everyone who responded with advice. I got way more feedback than I was expecting, so thanks for that. Before going back to work on Monday, I had a talk with my husband. I told him that while I understood he was upset, it didn't make sense for me to report to HR. My coworker hadn't broken any company rules by asking me out, and nothing would come of it. I did, however, say that if the coworker continues to make unwanted advances, I would absolutely report it to HR for harassment. I wrote myself an email, as one kind Redditor suggested, documenting what happened, just in case something weird does happen. We decided to put it behind us and continue on. Then, when I got to work on Monday, my boss asked me to come into her office and shut the door. As it turns out, she was aware of the situation. I guess the guy told his boss because he was worried I might make some sort of complaint to HR. Lol. And his boss ended up talking to my boss. My boss found the whole thing pretty hilarious, referred to my coworker repeatedly as this effing idiot for not at least confirming that I was single first, and then also asking me if I was okay and if it made me feel uncomfortable, etc. Honestly, it was a good talk. We also have a women's group within our company that she recommended I join because they talk about handling issues like these in the workplace. She also said that if I wanted to make a report to HR, I could, and that my coworker offered to verify that he was a dummy in a statement if I wanted to make one. She also said I could forward her the email I had sent to myself, and that if it remains an issue, we have it documented. We're also moving to a new office soon, and she informed me that our departments are going to be in completely different parts of the building, so I won't have to run into him. For now, when I've run into him around, we just do a polite head nod and carry on. For those who said I was an idiot for not catching on sooner, I also wanted to add that I'm not a woman who gets hit on very frequently anymore. After having my daughter, my body completely changed, and even though I'm still a young 25-year-old whippersnapper, it's not like I'm constantly turning men down. I'm somewhat shy and was eager to make a friend at my new workplace, and I didn't anticipate that his intentions were romantic or sexual. For the folks who thought going out to lunch with male colleagues was inappropriate, I don't really know what to say. My husband has no issue with me going to lunch with male coworkers. It's a completely normal thing to do, and he does it with female colleagues as well, and I have no issue with it. And for those who felt bad for the coworker, all that happened to him was he got politely declined. Anything that happened further happened because he decided to tell his boss. All I did was show up for work. Finally, I'm a brand new employee at a company I've always wanted to work for. And the last thing I want to do is get a reputation for some dumb crap. Especially after I was attacked by so many of you for being too dumb to realize he was into me. Based on what I experienced when out with this dude, he seemed genuinely embarrassed and mistaken. I do think it's dumb that he didn't verify I was single first because there were multiple indicators that I'm not single. I still see no reason to report this behavior unless it gets weird, which once again, I'm not anticipating. Well, OP, everything went even better than expected. The guy outed himself out, which was good, and your boss has your back 100%. Plus, in the near future, you won't even have to run into him. Also, you and your husband talked about it, which is great. Communication wins again, and you both put it behind you, so good to move forward. I would say, awesome update. Thank you so much for sharing, OP, and take care. Now, let's move on to the next post that, like I said in the beginning of the video, also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user Throwaway and a bunch of numbers. I, 27 male, told my friend 30 male that his girlfriend, 27 female, was cheating on him and he didn't believe me. This is an effed up situation and I just want his friendship back. I'm also going to use names so it gets less confusing. Basically, I caught my friend's girlfriend, Candace, cheating on him. I went to a pub and she was there, making out with another guy. She saw me, looked scared as crap and ran away. I followed her and said that if she didn't tell him about what she did, I would. She begged me not to and that it was a misunderstanding. But F it. They've been dating for 8 years now. My friend deserved to know. Well, a week went by and nothing happened. Their relationship was the same and he had no clue about the betrayal. I knew she wasn't going to tell him, so I did. I had a serious talk with him and I told him she had cheated on him. At first, he thought it was a prank, but when he realized I was being serious, he didn't believe me. He accused me of trying to destroy their relationship due to the fact that I'm gay, saying I had feelings for him. What? I was really hurt by what he said, so I told him to F off and left. He didn't even try to stop me and apologize. I am not waiting for an apology, but seriously, what can I do in this situation? He's planning on proposing. After 8 years, they're going to get married, and she effing cheated on him. Is there any way I can make him believe me? Wow, Obi, first thing I'm gonna say is your friend is a huge jackass for reacting the way he did. Look, I know that getting those kinds of news is shocking and yeah, it's upsetting and all, but that's not a way to react. You don't kill the messenger. Particularly offending a friendship like that. Oh, you just want to destroy my relationship because you have feelings for me because you're gay? That's such a stupid thing to say. And here's the thing. I'm pretty sure that those words came from her because you caught her, which makes him a bigger idiot. However, OP, I agree with you. Even though he's this much of an idiot, you can't let him marry this horrible person. But he's not gonna believe you unless you have some kind of proof. Maybe someone was at the bar that also saw her and can confirm your story. I'd try to see what I can do regarding that. But other than that, you might just need to wait until some point in the future when you can say, I told you so, but in a good way. And what do you guys think about this situation? Would you let him fall on the grenade or would you try to find a way to get the truth to him? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Deleted says, you've never heard the saying about shooting the messenger? Yeah, of course he is going to react with shock. He's got 8 years invested. He will probably talk to her about it, she will confess or deny, and their relationship will move on or eventually be damaged. You can't expect people to react to shocking news with a thanks. Some might, but the majority do not. Mekambarakune says, I just wanted to comment because I've been in nearly the same situation. My best girlfriend and I, friends for 10 years. There had been other signs in the past that he was cheating aside from the incident I shed light on for her. She had snooped in his email and found ads he posted on Craigslist for throat deposits. I don't know what that is, but I think I do. She didn't believe that her boyfriend was cheating on her because they lived together. When I told her I knew he was cheating with a classmate we went to school with, he told her that I was the devil and she called me a liar, told me to F off. 2 years later, she said she had enough of his crap, reached out to me to say sorry, and although we were friends again, it'll never be the same. I learned not to meddle in other people's relationships. Even if you know something, they will find out on their own. The Snow Princess 86 says, at least you've told him. Both my ex and my partner's ex cheated, and we only found out after they'd left. None of our friends told us, even though they knew. You've been a good friend, regardless of what he thinks. Smiley face. And Kingly88 says, some practical advice, maybe. If you're really that good of friends, then meet up with him one last time and be super neutral in your tone. Tell him that you have no feelings for him, and since y'all are good friends, then you felt the need to tell him what happened. Tell him that obviously he doesn't believe you, so you did your best and only did what you thought you can do. This has too much drama and you're sorry for involving yourself, but you're there for him when things settle and the truth comes out or if there's trouble. Some people need to fall to realize they've been living a fantasy. If you're a good friend, you'll be there after the fall. Alright, well, the community gave OP some pretty good advice on how to deal with how he's feeling and maybe how to talk to his friend later. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Here I am again with good news. I went back to the pub and told the manager, yo, I really need that surveillance footage, mate. My buddy's girlfriend was making out with another guy and you need to help me, you know? He, of course, agreed and asked me on a date afterward. I'm taken, so I obviously said no, but I did show the footage to my friend who dumped his girlfriend. Just kidding. I went back to the pub and politely asked the manager for footage of that night. He agreed to show me, and then I showed it to my friend. I left a really big tip, and I want to give a shout out to a username I will definitely not read for the idea. Thanks. My friend was devastated, of course. He had been dating Candace for 8 years, but he said, I knew you weren't lying, I just couldn't accept it. He also apologized deeply for bringing up my sexuality, and after a long talk, I decided to forgive him because I understood that he was in a bad place. He dumped his girlfriend. Thanks for all the advice, relationships. Heart, heart, heart. Well, OP, you got the proof even in a better way. You actually got it on tape and he saw it. So good for you for actually helping him out. And also, yeah, okay, props to him for recognizing his idiocy. Thanks for sharing, OP. Take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.